So your morals and how you feel is not the end all be all as to what the Most High says is righteous. We tend to confuse what we think and feel, blah blah blah, etc., and we think that that is equal to or above the Most High. We really don't even have a concept of God, factually, because we always want to think the way we feel is God, but that might not necessarily be true. Why am I saying that? Because you see right here the name of this video, she thought the Bible was moral. Let's just get into it.
The teachings of Jesus, yeah. Like I don't think you can find any like moral faults in Jesus.
How about his command to hate your mother and father and wife or husband to be a disciple? That's not a good teaching, is it?
Which verse is that?
Luke 14:26.
Let me check that.
Jesus said, whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and even life itself cannot be my disciple. That's a terrible moral teaching.
Based upon what? Just because you come up with a feeling, a moral, etc., doesn't mean the context of what the book is talking about is flawed. All right? Think about that. The book's talking about what it's talking about. You've created your own standard to say that it's immoral. How? Why? Because you say so? That's the level of pride that a lot of us have, but specifically in this case, this guy has. Again, this is nothing about him, whatever. It's just your opinion doesn't matter because it's only your opinion.
Telling people they have to hate their families. That's horrible. Why would you want us to organize society around that?
But how is it horrible? Why? Just because you say so? Zero context did you provide. Zero nothing. It's just let's read a sentence and I'm going to be the one to deem it to be wrong, flawed. This is the level of pride that a lot of people have. The Bible says that if you're not in agreement, you can't walk together. That's what this is talking about. If the Bible is saying follow Christ, keeping the commandments, that's what it means to follow Christ. If the Bible is saying that, how can you follow Christ by keeping the commandments, walking with people that are not walking with Christ by not keeping the commandments? You have to love one above the other. Just because you're blood kin related to these people doesn't trump the fact that they're not keeping the commandments. Everything, it has a context. He's saying to hell with the context. I feel this. I believe that my moral is this. Therefore, the Bible's wrong.
So it could sometimes be the way that it's translated because this was
Shall I tell you?
usually.
Shall I tell you how it's translated?
Yeah, sure.
The Greek word there for hate is miseo. It's the same word that's used in many other verses where it unambiguously means hate. So like in the Gospel of John, when it says the world hates you, they use exactly the same term. In Luke 21, it says you will be hated by all. It's the same term. It's used throughout the New Testament. It always means hate. Doesn't mean love less, by the way. Some people try to say it just means love less or prioritize Jesus over your family. It doesn't mean that. It means hate.
Yeah, well, one thing at a time. People do try to say that love less crap. I agree with that. However, what he's talking about, he's defining one word using the Strong's Concordance. That's a problem because the Strong's Concordance doesn't trump the Bible. Christians do this all of the time. First, second, this is a sentence in a paragraph where it's talking about what it's talking about, following Christ. Again, you have to be in agreement. Those that are not in agreement, you can't walk with them. The context, not the concordance, but the context shows that it is love less though. You don't put your family just because they're your blood relatives. You don't put them above Christ and keeping the commandments. That's putting the flesh above, spiritual matters. But This being said, this guy's error. Hate, love less. It doesn't matter. The book itself trumps all of those things.
It's not a translation problem. It's a meaning problem. It's a horrible preachment.
Yeah, but then
No, no, it's not a me. It's your understanding of the meaning, which is a problem because you're not using the book for the proper meaning. You're using the concordance for an improper meaning.
and you would have to back that up by saying like, because then you would not have a verse that literally says like things like, love your mother and father.
Well, what you're saying is that the Bible contains contradictions.
No.
Yes, it does. That's why it's not a trust.
No, she's not saying that. You putting words in her mouth. It's like if you notice, she can barely get a word in. But I'm gonna let this cook.
Worthy book, because it says one thing in one moment, one thing in another moment. Jesus comes along and says you're obligated to uphold all the Mosaic laws and all the barbarity of the Old Testament, where women could be unalived with rocks and people.
Well, hold on. There's so much opinion coming out. This guy's kind of like a sensitive bitch. And I don't say that in a disrespectful manner. He's a sensitive bitch. If you notice, he's adding words in there. Barbaric. There's a barbaric according to what? Your opinion, your feelings. It is what it is. Then he's focusing on women being unalived. People were unalived. He's trying to again tend to her emotions. People were killed. Young, old, male, female. Like people were killed. He's trying to get in her emotions and add words, barbaric that are not literally don't exist in the Bible to get his point across. But his point is not what the book is talking about.
Could keep slaves and babies could be unalived with swords. He says you're in Matthew 5:17. He says you're obligated to keep all of these laws always until the heaven and earth don't exist anymore. Right. And then Paul comes along later and goes, nah, none of that stuff really counts anymore apart from the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, he just lied on Paul because Paul was with the commandments. Again, he's going to say this and not show what he's talking about because he can't show what he's talking about because he's lying. Paul never, ever went against the keeping of the commandments. Paul is one of those. It even says he's hard to be understood. Christians and religious people believe that Paul is teaching, abandon the commandments. But that's religion. Religion and the Bible are two separate things.
The Bible is completely inconsistent. It's all over the place, and that's
why would
show an
Why would you have
inconsistency.
an issue with that?
Show one inconsistent. I can say that Rick James is the president. Does that mean that Rick James is the president? Rick James is not even alive anymore. But just because I say something, just because he says something, doesn't make it true. It's just him saying something. You won't find any inconsistency. You might find a transliteral error at the very most, but that's it.
Well, because it shows it's an untrustworthy book. It's been cobbled together.
So would you rather?
Where's the evidence? Everything is just because this John Cohen says so. No proof.
That the Bible held that you can unalive babies and
it does hold that. That's the problem that you have to wrestle with. It absolutely does.
No, it doesn't. I mean, Christians don't believe that. So
shall we read 1 Samuel 15:3 together?
It doesn't matter what a Christian believes, though. If I take the word gay today and gay 200 years ago means two completely different things. The word Christian today, and as it's used only 3 times in the Bible, is two different things. The Christian was a follower of Christ, which means keeping the commandments. Christians today, the commandments are done away with. They're actually not followers of Christ, but they're using it as a religious title. It's two totally different things. Therefore, it doesn't matter what a Christian thinks, feels, says, whatever. The Bible is not talking about today's Christian.
So this is Jesus when he had his Yahweh hat on. telling the Israelites how to deal with the Amalekites. He said, "Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have. Do not spare them, but unalive both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey." Right?
Where's the problem?
That's your God. Telling the Israelites to go and commit ethnic cleansing and
It's a cleansing.
genocide, basically.
That's the point.
That's horrific, isn't it?
Wait. See, this is what I'm talking about. Cleansing is horrific. Like this is why again he's some sort of emotional bitch. Cleansing is cleansing. So what are we supposed to do? Let murderers, rapists, people that have relations with animals, everything wicked is just supposed to stay because he's some sort of bitch with sand inside of his vagina, and it's horrific. I can't bear this. It doesn't matter what you can or cannot bear. It is thus saith the Lord. You are not the Lord. You are not the Most High. It doesn't matter how you feel. The morals that you've created are irrelevant because you're just a human being. This is my point. Like you're saying there's an issue where there's no issue. The morals that you've created only govern your own household.
Yeah. So do you believe like that means that like Christians are supposed to uphold this like forever?
Well, yes, that's what the text says, because
No, the text doesn't say that because, again, this book is not talking about Christians today. Christians can do whatever. Again, Christians can do whatever they want to do because the law is done away with. With no law, there's no standard. There's literally, speaking of morals, there's no morals. I'm going to say there's no biblical morals in Christianity. You might find a couple that match, maybe. But this book it's not talking about these religions today.
as in Matthew 5:17, Jesus says, "Don't think I've come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it, not one jot nor tittle."
No, that's not true either. If you're going to quote something, you have to quote it correctly. It doesn't say fulfill it in reference to the law, because that would be the it that he's implying. After the word fulfill, there's a period. You don't get to put in it and change the structure of it. The fulfill is fulfill a specific thing. Prophecy according to the book of Acts, chapter 3. So you have to be careful when people are talking. They'll say something and it's only what they feel.
Tittle of the law shall change until heaven and earth don't exist anymore. And anyone that doesn't follow the laws or teaches other people not to follow them will be considered least in the kingdom of heaven. So Jesus explicitly reiterates that all of this stuff holds.
Right.
Right? This is why I say the Bible is a terrible, terrible moral guide.
See how he hesitated. Terrible moral guide according to the morals you've created. But you haven't shown how it's unrighteous to cleanse wickedness in the earth, because that's what you read about the Amalekites. If I have to clean my bathroom according to his morals, and when I spray disinfectant, bleach, Pine Sol, whatever, but you're killing the germs, it goes against my morals, then live in filth. I don't use bitch in a derogatory sense, but he has the spirit of an emotional bitch.
There are worse moral guides, by the way, just not many.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think that Christians deny that there is violence in the Bible. I think that they understand it as kind of an act of divine judgment within like Israel and their unique covenant history.
Divine
it's not
judgment.
like
telling people
it's
to go.
It's not meant to be like a model for human behavior. Jesus teaches explicitly forbids violence. And
that's not true.
Advancing
that's actually not true. Christians believe that, but what the Bible says is not what she's saying.
Like God's kingdom or getting ever.
But that's a cope. That's a cope, because if you think Jesus is God and you are obligated to hold that view doctrinally, that Jesus is 100% God, then
wait, key word, he said if. Okay, so this is, he's not saying that's what it is. It's just if you believe that. Again, the Bible doesn't reflect that.
And the God of the Old Testament is Jesus, right?
Yeah, but we believe that, I mean, it's not something we believe, it's in the Old Testament, right? Like the Israelites made a special covenant with God in the Old Testament, and
That
it
doesn't
was
matter.
for that time period.
These are God's.
That-
These are God's commands. If I spend the morning, if I throw my son in the basement in the morning, throw water over him, and lock the door and leave him there for a few hours on his own, shivering in the cold, and then in the afternoon I take him out for a milkshake, was I a good father?
Why does it matter? What you do with your son and water and milkshakes has absolutely nothing to do with the Most High, Amalekites, and the nation of Israel. It has nothing to do with it. Again, what you do in your household with your morals, with things you've created, has absolutely nothing to do with how God says this order is going to be, using the nation of Israel as his battle axe. God's word versus what you do is the audacity that we have to compare this. It doesn't matter what you think, feel, your morals, etc. don't matter along with anybody else, because at the end of the day, the Most High rules supreme.
No, but
No.
you're wrestling with morality of today with morality of before.
I'm
So,
showing.
like,
I'm showing you that the
Nah.
character
I'm sure.
of the God
Yeah,
that
but I'm
you
sure,
worship
like,
is
for
evil.
for example, 500 years ago, people thought that slavery was moral and
Yeah.
no issue.
So you're making
So
a
things
you're
have
making hang
all-
on. You're making
things
an argument.
change.
You're making an argument now that God was obligated to fit in with the moral norms of the day, and that all the commandments he gave to the Israelites about where to buy their slaves from and how to beat them, we can read them together if you want, were just him fitting in with the norms of the day. He wouldn't want to offend anyone. I mean, he went out of his way to tell people what seafood they could eat and what to do with the tassels on the tabernacle curtains, but he couldn't possibly bring himself to say, don't own other human beings as property. That's a ludicrous argument. God could have just
I
said,
have a
guys, don't keep
question.
slaves. But he
Well, what's the problem with having slaves? Like you now the conversation is shifted to slaves. I don't know how it got here, because it doesn't. It has nothing to do with righteousness or morals, unless you're talking about unrighteous slavery. But let's see.
didn't say that, did he? He gave them specific instructions on how to keep slaves. And if your argument is,
Okay, so if you have instructions on how to keep slaves, what is the problem? It's not like how Europeans more recently, for example, kept slaves, because that would be immoral slavery, because they just were savages. But that has nothing to do with the Bible, though.
it was moral 2,000 years ago, that's ludicrous. It was never moral. Was there?
Now that's bullshit. See, they're conflicting time, like then and now. But it's like, whether you have slaves then or now, it's how you conducted the slaves, then and now. Did you conduct, the slavery as with according to the rules that he mentioned in, the Bible and the Torah, or did you just do whatever the hell you wanted? It just doesn't. Then and now doesn't matter. Was it conducted wickedly then or now? But that does, again, that's you. They're talking as if just slavery period is wrong. That's just, you got to be a fool.
Ever a time when it was okay for a human being to own another human being? Was that ever okay?
I mean, if I was born today, I would say no. Maybe if I was born 500 years ago, I would have said something different.
I'm asking you now to think about human history and answer whether it was ever okay. I'm not asking what people thought were the norms of the day, because that's irrelevant. I'm asking you if you think it's
irrelevant.
ethical.
See, you're talking about ethical. What are these? Are you talking about the ethics you've created in your brain, or what the Most High has said these are the quote unquote rules or laws to that he's saying makes it ethical. Because what God says is ethical and what this idiot says is ethical, it's two different things. And her opinion on what's ethical is three different things. And then the next person's opinion is, and it goes on and on. Why not just let the Most High say, hey, this is ethical or righteous, and stop forming opinions about it? It's like we literally will form opinions. We will just do so abundantly. Our opinions don't matter.
Is it ethical for human beings to own other humans?
Yes.
No, I don't think you should have.
Again, think. The key word there, think. It doesn't matter what she thinks. It doesn't matter what he thinks. It only matters what God says. If God says these are the parameters to conduct slavery in a righteous manner, then God damn it, that's what it is. Why is this so hard? He's making something simple difficult.
Dominion over someone, but
Right, I agree with you, but your God thinks it's great. Your God told the Israelites exactly how to own other human beings.
Right.
It wasn't even just that he kind of permitted it. He gave them specific rules about it.
Yes,
where
he
to
did.
buy them from, what the differences in the rules were between Israelite human beings that you could own for 6 years and let them free in the seventh if they
Correct.
owed you some money and they weren't
Correct.
women. The women you got to keep forever, by the way. And slaves from the other nations that you could buy, and you could do what
Correct.
you want with them. You could
This
pass
is
them
all
on to your
correct.
children as property. They could never leave. You could beat them. You could beat them to
Correct.
unalivement, as long as you didn't beat them too hard that they passed away within a day or two. Then you'd need to pay a fine or something. But if you
So because he gave these instructions, you have to show a flaw in God's instructions? You have not done so. Show me what the problem is. And again, there's nothing wrong with just slave. If you're an employee, you're a slave. It's just another word for it. If you're an inmate, you're a slave. And this is coming from a Negro whose forefathers is in the U.S. and the South. We have to stop thinking that the only way to conduct slavery is like a goddamn tyrant. There's another way to conduct slavery, and it's in alignment with the Most High. You have to show how what the Most High has said, hey, this is in alignment with righteousness and conducting slavery. You have to show how that is flawed. You have not done so. You're putting a stigma on it as if it's wrong without actually showing how it's wrong. I just wanted to highlight this video I saw because, again, the title says it all. And it doesn't matter what this word here, it doesn't matter what somebody thinks. It doesn't matter what somebody's personal morals are. Righteousness is defined by God, period. Not this guy, not anybody on this planet. That's all I have for now. As it is written, and I'm out.